After 6 weeks of cybersecurity awareness sharing, I've gotten feedback that many of you would like to have a combined video based on the past 6 weeks of sharing. And I pull out all the contents from the past 6 weeks and combine them into one video, which will be easier for all of us to learn and share cybersecurity at one go. What will be shared for the next hour plus will be on some of the fundamentals of cybersecurity, which is a must for anyone who wishes to understand more about cybersecurity. We will be learning what is cybersecurity. During this chapter of sharing, we will focus on the fundamental of cybersecurity. This will allow us to understand the areas of focus we must have when we come to the topic of cybersecurity and the common terms for cybersecurity. Then, we will continue to understand what is cyberspace, the ground and the platform in which the cyber game is played. I always say cybersecurity is like a game. You will need an attacker and defender to get the game going. Missing out any of these parties will dismiss the need for cybersecurity. And how well the cyber game will go will depend not only on the skill set of the professional, but also on the tools used and the environment. For example, if you are trying to deny someone network, the environment will include internet connection and internet speed, which will play a large part in affecting cyberspace. We will then move on to understand what is a cyber attack and the target audience hackers are looking out for. Having that overall bird's-eye view on the targeted audience, we can easily understand the information hackers want and unmask who is behind the offensive side of the cyber game. Knowing who is behind is considered half the battle won. Know your enemy, know yourself, and half the battle is won. After we have an idea of the mastermind behind the cyber attack, let us dig in to find out more the reasons behind that motivates and move them towards this direction. Why become a hacker and stand on the evil side of the game instead of being the guardian angel of the cyberspace? We will also get to explore and understand the sources of attacks, and we will be learning the top 4 most common cyber attacks hackers are using to prey on anyone. This will include network attacks, malware distribution, social engineering, and lastly for today will be data theft. Do pay more attention and I'm very sure you'll get to benefit from it. After understanding the sources of attack, we will move on to gear ourselves up for the type of cyber threats that are happening in the market. And I'll be showing you with real phishing emails and how we can identify these phishing emails. After today's topic, you will be more cyber aware and gain more protective power to defend yourself. Enough of hearing from the evil side. We will then move on to the discussion of who are the defenders in the cyberspace. The defenders are the guardian angels and play an important role to keep the information safe in cyberspace and also ensure those evildoers are balanced and managed. You cannot eradicate cyber attacks, but you can manage and balance the risk. We will also be learning some cybersecurity tips as an employee. These tips will ensure basic cybersecurity measures are in place. I also added in cybersecurity tips for management and IT departments, as some of us are top management and are serving in the IT department. This will ensure everyone will learn something for today. Finally, we will touch on what condition or situation someone should report or escalate up to their higher management. Just in case some of you are not aware of what I'm talking about with all these CISSP, CISM, and CISA certifications. I'll give you a quick overview of these certifications. CISSP, Certified Information System Security Professionals, is issued by ISO 2 for professionals who have passed the exams and fulfill the criteria for these certifications, while CISM, Certified Information Security Managers, and CISA, Certified Information Systems Auditor, are issued by ISACA for professionals who have passed the exam and fulfilled the criteria for the certifications. Both the ISO 2 Certified Information System Security Professionals (CISSP) and ISACA Certified Information Security Manager (CISM) are highly sought after IT security certifications, and professionals holding on to these certifications will be deemed as globally recognized leaders in the field of cybersecurity. And also, anyone holding on to these certifications is deemed to have obtained high-level understanding in cybersecurity. So, the first step will be to understand what is cybersecurity. Right now, I'm bringing all attention to the international definition of what is cybersecurity by NIST, NIST. If you are in the cybersecurity field, you'll be hearing a lot on the term NIST, and therefore, you need to have a basic understanding of NIST. So, what is NIST? NIST stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They are founded in 1901, and NIST is a federal agency between the US Department of Commerce. Their mission is to promote innovation by advancing measures, standards, and technology in ways that enhance economical security and improve the quality of life. NIST gives birth to a lot of cybersecurity baseline frameworks, like NIST 834, which is a set of guidelines, or we can always deem as the best practices in our industry for creating disaster recovery. NIST defines cybersecurity as the ability to protect or defend the use of cyberspace from cyber attacks. This definition is more for company understanding, or I'll say a high-level meaning. I'll be sharing with you my own definitions of what is cybersecurity in the next slide. Another important factors you will need to remember will be the framework of NIST. The 5 functions of the framework will be to identify, then you'll protect, always listen and detect, respond when there's an issue, and recover from the issue. Having a framework is very important as you set the objective and directions for the company. You provide the necessary guidance on how you wish to implement your cybersecurity strategy. Cybersecurity is always about working as a team to defend against any attack, and everyone has a different part to play in the company. There will not be a one-suits-all definitions. I've come up with definitions for everyone, contributing to the different angles during their different appointments in the company. For top management, their job is always to look at how to manage and sustain the company in the long run. When you talk to them about cybersecurity, their key objective is to look at how to balance their defined corporate risk with their existing corporate finance. It's all about cost management and risk management at their level. While for mid-management, like IT managers and IT senior managers, cybersecurity to them is how to use and give the estimate budgets to ensure the minimum protection will be implemented. Their objective and the cybersecurity to them are to give their best protections within the given pricing. Their job is to find the best solutions between the given price. And for the end user, people like you and me, hackers are not interested in your hardware. They are very keen and all they want is your data. The ultimate aim of cybersecurity is to retrieve all the targeted data, either for them to sell it away or tagging on the data to access into more systems to retrieve the data they are ultimately looking for. So, to us, cybersecurity is all about you. Data in today's environment is key, and protecting data is a must. For a battle to happen, or for a cyber attack to happen, we also need to understand a little about the battleground. The internet also serves as a platform to carry out the cyber attacks and defense, and we call it cyberspace. The global definition by NIST for cyberspace is that it will be a global domain between the information environment consisting of the independent network of information systems, infrastructures, including the internet, telecommunication network, computer systems, and embedded processor and controllers. But how I define cyberspace will be any device or anything that is involved in the World Wide Web, www. Once there's internet access and package sent from any device, the device will be exposed to cyber attacks. Do you know that now even your smart TV, smart printer, and smart aircons are target of cyber attacks? Now we understand the battleground, and we have talked a lot about a cyber attack. So let us find out more. What is a cyber attack and what it will concern you, and why is it concerning to you? The same flow that we have done previously to read on the definition by NAS. In this context, NAS defines a cyber attack is something by cyberspace as targeting an enterprise use of cyberspace to disrupt, disable, destroying, or maliciously controlling a computing environment, infrastructure, or destroying the integrity of the data, or stealing controlled information. As you can see, the cyber attack is used to control your environment and destroy the data. But if you were to ask me for the simple definitions to understand, all I can say is an attempt to check if you are ready. And if you are not ready, you will just attack and get what you want. And they'll be round the clock to check who is not ready and open for attack. In today's world, they're using machines to sniff for any opening and any opportunity they can attack in. So to these attackers, all these are simple tasks. They are just making use of machines. Of course, the ultimate aim, as we have discussed before, is to get your data exposed. So now, you know how important cybersecurity is. Without any defense, it's like putting all your information in front of the attackers and waiting for them to hack in. CIA triads. The key to better cybersecurity protections will depend on the three key elements and components of the CIA triads. The decisions and ability to balance the three key components of the CIA triads will ensure vital cybersecurity protections and also help companies to avoid compliance issues, help them to ensure business continuity, and also help to prevent reputational damage to the company. Well, and for individuals like us, this is also important, as we will need to know how to ensure smooth protection of our data without unauthorized access, modifications of the data, and also the ability for us to retrieve the data within the acceptable time frame. So, from the triangle itself, those highlighted in red are the opposite meaning of the key components of the CIA triads. And I hope after going through, it will give you a clearer view of what is the CIA triads. Disclosure is the opposite of the core components of confidentiality, followed by the destruction, which is for integrity, and denial will be for availability. So we know that if a data is being denied, that means it's not available to the user anymore. So after reviewing this, I hope now we have a better picture of the CIA triads. The first component we'll be looking at will be confidentiality. So when we talk about protecting confidentiality, we are referring to the ability to define and enforce certain access level for the information in the systems. The question we need to ask will be who need to access to the information and how sensitive is the information. And you are able to add on to ask what will be the amount of damage be like if this is breached. Confidentiality is about how to gain access to the system and to the right user itself. So now let's go through some of the most common confidentiality attacks, and that will be installing spyware, malware on the servers, cracking encrypted data, man-in-the-middle attack, and data leak. The first on the list will be installing spyware, malware. That's the cheapest and the most common way of attack. In this attack process, the malware is finding ways to gain access to the systems. They can be in terms of key loggers in the system trying to read your password in the background. Next will be cracking encrypted data. This will be considered a higher level of access granting to the systems. In a secure environment, most of the files are encrypted, including password file. Cracking or decrypting these files will allow the hackers to gain access to the systems. A man-in-the-middle attack is like eavesdropping. When you are sending your password or data online, the hackers will try to get in between and spy on it, and hoping for a chance to get the password. The worst-case scenario will be data leakage and unauthorized copying of sensitive data. Your password will be given out straight away, and hackers will be able to gain access to the systems right away. Don't be worried about all these attacks. We'll be sharing more in terms and details of all these attacks in near future. The next component will be integrity, the big and middle I in the CIA triads, which stand for data integrity. It measures and ensures the data are protected and designed to be protected from deletions or modifications from any unauthorized party. Any modifications must come from an authorized party with the right access. Do double check. The key here is the right person must be authorized and having the right access. The following attack methods will allow and result in modifications without authorizations. It will destroy data, as this data will no longer be safe or good for usage anymore. Gaining the ability to remotely access to the systems in any administrator right is a big no in cybersecurity and also in any network administrator conducts. Not only does it fail integrity, but also confidentiality. This will be the same for any unauthorized database scans. Once a hacker can gain access to the system after the scan and be able to modify the data in the system, or worse, if they are able to change the access rights or change the passwords to deny all future access, it fails both confidentiality and integrity. The same goes for maliciously accessing to the servers and carry out the web penetrations for malware insertions. First, they will try to gain access and gain control of the system, which works against confidentiality and modifies the data, which fallbacks to a no in integrity. So we can now see the patterns of confidentiality and integrity. You must get through confidentiality before you can touch on integrity. The last component will be availability. Authentication mechanism, access control, and other systems have to work properly for the protections of the data. But the measure in place must also ensure that it is available when it's needed. The key measures for this will be the timing to retrieve these data or information when required. We doesn't want to have a systems that are so highly secure that when you require data, it will take months or years to retrieve that. That defeats your operations and will disrupt your operations. You will not want to have confidentiality and integrity so strong that your availability is compromised. For example, to access to a company payslip, you will need to key in your password, have a one-time PIN, go through your iris scan, that means your eye scanning, and then wait for your managers to approve and so on. Although in this case, the security is tight, I would say it's super tight, and the confidentiality is so strong, but the time taken to access the data is way too long. It doesn't meet the requirement of cybersecurity. Let's now go through some of the common attacks in the last leg of the CIA triads. Firstly, flooding the targeted server with many PIN requests. This is known as distributed denial of service, commonly known as DDoS. This is the easiest form of attack, and such attack can be performed by a beginner hacker. There will be more of a physical disruption kind of attack, which will be disrupt the server room power supply. And if you do not have a UPS, uninterrupted power supply as a backup, the system will go down and it will not be accessible anymore. This will mean that you fail your protections measure. The worst nightmare will be ransomware attack. We can tell by its name itself that this is a serious attack. What it does is that it will lock the systems or the servers in which the data is at rest and demand a high price to unlock the data. The ransomware currency is commonly in Bitcoin, which means payment mode or heavily done in Bitcoin. There's no way to trace the attacker. And when I say lock the data, there will be a lot of times whereby the ransomware will also encrypt the data. And there are many cases and many times in the industry whereby companies make payment to the ransomware attackers, but they still couldn't get their data back. These attackers will demand for more Bitcoins and demand for higher pricing to release the data. So there will be no sure way of getting your data back when you meet this kind of attack. So now, what's the trade-off between these components? Now we know that confidentiality is about ensuring the right party can access or gain access to the systems. And availability is how fast you are able to retrieve your data. For example, right now, if you increase your confidentiality, what will happen to your availability? Now, for example, if you are from the sales department and would like to increase the confidentiality of you accessing to customer data, the normal way and the common way for company will be to use access control list. The system administrator will ensure that you are the right party for the access, and then you will be able to access to the data. So normally, all these are just done by a click of the button. But now, you will need more approval layer to gain access. Which way this increases confidentiality. Besides telling with the access control list, you also need to be in your office intranet systems, which is based on your locations. And every time you want to access to customer data, you will need to seek your supervisor approval. And this is whenever you want to access the customer data. So comparing to last time, you just need to click on the folder to access. Now you will need many layers. Although the confidentiality increases, but we can clearly state that the time increases as well, but in a way that we are confident and we are very secure that the person accessing the data is you. But the time taken to gain access to data is unacceptable, and in a way, your availability fails. After understanding the fundamental of cybersecurity and their key components, let's now think, how can we put this knowledge into good use? For example, how an individual should react to cybersecurity, and how should a company view their cybersecurity posture as a whole. When you talk about cybersecurity, the triggering point will always be the cost. When you mention about costing here, we are not just talking about the dollar and cents. We are also talking about the opportunity cost and the risk cost as well, and also the operation cost to maintain your cybersecurity. So, risk will also be the key considerations affecting the cybersecurity strategy in the company. From our previous discussion, we knew that high confidentiality and integrity will be the trade-off for ability. In the same way, taking a low-risk approach to cybersecurity will result in a high cost to implement cybersecurity. While if the company wants to take a high-risk approach and does not care much about cybersecurity, although their cost to spend on cybersecurity will be very low, but the risk they are taking and undertaking will be very high. The question here, and everyone needs to seriously think about, will be the appetite for cybersecurity. How much risk can you take to have such little security, or if you are spending too much on cybersecurity and it affects your operation. Now, let's find out the target audience which these attackers are targeting. The biggest attraction will be the government. The government is holding on to millions of information, and a lot of them are highly classified as top secret. When we are doing data classifications, top secret information refers to information that is deemed to be of high importance. And if this information is exposed out or leaked out, it will result in serious damage to the country. Hackers are looking for such high important top secret information, which is worth a lot of money if they were to sell it away, or the value of the information is very high. Next on the list will be business and companies. Rival will want to take down their competitors for many reasons. For example, if you know that your competitors will be launching a product soon, and you deny their fast server or website server half an hour before the launch, you'll create a big impact on the whole business. So, if you know your competitors is launching a new product, hacking into their system will allow you to have first-hand information on the new products and their marketing strategy. You'll be able to match the pricing or make out similar products faster than them in the market, affecting the overall market share. The most and top attack during such an attack will be to steal customer information, and hoping your sales team will be able to convert these customers into your own. Banking and financial sectors does not need much explanation. This is where the money flows and to where the rich guy data are stored. If the attackers can hack and access this information, they can transfer the billions of dollars up to whichever accounts they want. And the information the bank keeps, you will be able to tell who are the top wealthy men with the bank, and you'll be able to perform social engineering on them, or in a way, phone scams and a list of scams to cheat the bank customer money. And also, you will be able to affect the bank reputations. Education industry are something we always miss out, but we need to take serious note about. Education industry also hold research data, and knowing they are a non-profit company, meaning they do not spend much on their cyber defense. Attackers will take such advantage of these situations and hack in their network through phishing emails or any other means. Healthcare is an important highlight now. As you all can see in this pandemic, the unsung heroes are all in the healthcare. If I can hack into a system and take their vaccine and other prescriptions, I can also ransom the hospital or the patients. And finally, as I always mention, that your data is what the hackers are looking for, and you'll be the one they need. Based on the attack trending and other statistics, I also realized the heavier your regulations and the fine in the industry, the more interested the hacker will be. Out of all the cyber attacks that are happening in the market right now, 43% of the cyber attacks target small businesses, and over 75% of the healthcare industry has been affected with malware over the last year. And it's a matter of fact that anyone can be a victim of such an attack. So be cyber aware and be cyber safe to keep yourself out of such an attack. The key questions to a cyber attack will be, what do you want from me? And what makes me a victim you like to attack? What information can you get out from data collected from me? The ultimate goal for the hackers will be to gain access to the system and get hold of the admin access. Administrators normally hold on to super user rights, meaning they can access, modify, or give rights to anyone or any data in the company. Once the attacker gets hold of such power, they can declare they have took over the system and is holding on to all the company data. As the main administrators, they can also turn off all the protections and change all the policies in the company. Worse, if they change all the rights and block out all the company's users from accessing to the system. In a way, they have declined and denied and stole all the access rights. Next on the list will be personal information of an individual. This information will include credit card information, which the attacker can use to transact or purchase things online. In a way to say, stealing but in an online way. And with personal information, they will be able to conduct social engineering to gain more information from the user, or using the user to gain access to certain systems that they want. Canteen contact rosters and other phone directories are also a good way for social engineering. By employing social engineering techniques, the targeted user can be cheated and make use to gain access to other systems. The last 2 points are related. Both are related to the stealings of companies' information. Some companies will have technology and information which include both classified and unclassified. While in some companies, some will have their sensitive information. Once the attackers is able to get hold of this data, they will be able to make use of this data and sell to your competitors. It can be a technology that is calling for patent, or a piece of information or idea which will be able to generate a lot of profit for the company. But once such data is made available in the market, the company will lose its competitive advantage and the chance to make money. It is always good for us to understand and know the party behind who are involved or carry out all these attacks. In the rule of thumb, cyber attacks are happening once every 39 seconds. Have you ever wondered about the motivation they are acting behind such an attack? There are two extreme kinds of hackers that I would like to share. Script kiddies are not considered a hacker. Unfortunately, their actions and their motivations make them the scariest of all. Script kiddies are someone new to hacking and they just want to try or curious about it. They might try to take down the access point or accessing to the system, or just try out the things they have learned. But they are not aware of the potential issue to their systems and actions. They might have left a vulnerability in the systems unknowingly, and this attracts or invites other intended hackers to come into the systems, or they might unintentionally damage the systems. Another kind of hackers which we must be aware of will be hacktivists. This is a special group which they hack to express their form of unhappiness to the society, or they are trying to promote a political agenda or social change. Most of the time, it's related to freedom of speech, human rights, or freedom of information movements. Next on the list will be the easiest for us to understand their motivation. Why do you want to hack a company? And these hackers will ask you back a simple question. How much do you think the cyberspace will be worth? And when you do your research and you reply them, 6 trillions in the year 2021. Now you will understand why people hack into companies and they play in the cyber game. The motivations will be the money in this context. And most of the time, I also ask myself, how is just 1% of these 6 trillions fall into my pocket? I will also be a happy hacker. Let's skip that thinking and let's move on to the next point, cyber espionage. These target sectors will be on government agency and large enterprises. This is a sponsored hacking activities for the development of viruses that observe or destroy data to a target country. This will be a serious and mass-scale event. Terrorists and organized crimes are both on bad intentions. Sometimes they are not just after money, but also after someone's lives. They can operate anywhere in the world and can be anyone, making tracking or hitting out on them very tough. Human is the weakest link, and the best person to tamper and bring down your system will be someone from your company. And it will be worse if the person is your main administrator. He or she will have all the super administrator rights, allowing him to access, modify, or delete any data. They can also download, extract any data they want. Such an insider attack can come from the logic bomb, where the employee plant malware with logic inside your systems, and the malware will be activated once the logic or the conditions are met. Normally, the trigger event will be like delete the file or send all this file to a targeted destination. Employees can also benefit from this by downloading and storing internal information and selling them to competitors or in the black market. They can destroy the first mover advantage of the company or their trade secret. Lastly, if the employees are not trained, they will be the easy target of blackmail or extortion. So everyone in your company should know and be trained in cybersecurity. Another W we need to know by now will be why they do this. Most of the points in this portion I already shared earlier on, so let's quickly walk through the understanding of why people are doing this. Earlier on, we have shared that the cybercrime market will be worth up to 6 trillion USD by 2021. This is a huge motivation to be in the cybersecurity business. Regardless if you are in the hacking or defending sector, you will be part of this market, just how much you can retrieve out from the pocket. By the end of 2020, the number of connected devices will be 200 billion globally. And with such a big exposure, and we know that most of these connected devices are not protected, mainly due to the cost and the lack of expertise in the market to design such protections. This is a big potential for hacking and a big potential to defense to stop the attack. When we talk about cybersecurity, the dollar and cents concern will come across to everyone's mind. And I've interacted with a lot of people and companies. When we talk about cybersecurity, the first thing that comes to their mind will be, this is so complex and extremely expensive. Therefore, a lot of companies do not care and will not bother to put out any cybersecurity defense. And more than 77% of the companies do not have a cybersecurity incident response plan, making them the best target for any cyber attacks. The awareness of cybersecurity is lagging in the whole market. And that is one of the reasons why I created such a channel and promote cybersecurity awareness and readiness for the world. Cybersecurity in general is not something that you will be able to master in a few days or a few months. This is an ongoing process. That is why when it comes to cybersecurity, a lot of people do not understand this and will just buy things off the shelf. For example, when the topic of a firewall is brought onto the business table, they will just buy a cheap off-the-shelf firewall and turn it on. But they are not aware of the policy to set and how to integrate into their business model and systems. Lagging this will result in dangerous situation and unknowingly create a cyber breach for the company. But to the hacker out there, this is a happy situation for them. Some hackers hack for the sake of reputation. All they wanted is to create a name for themselves or their guild. The main objective is to leave footprint in the system, but do not wish to disturb the system. And some do this to raise their image and reputation. At the same time, ask for a small token for their effort. Getting famous through such a so-called gentleman hacking will expose them to headhunters and better opportunity in the long run. Big companies and big industry like e-commerce will be coming knocking their door in no time. The first on the list will be network attacks. By the name, you can already guess that such attack will be to target on the network and they're either trying to penetrate the network or take down the network. Network attacks can be deemed as the most common and scarier attack of all, as a network is always exposed to the public. Number 1 on the list for network attack will be denial of service, DOS, or a higher level, distributed denial of service, DDoS. Denial of service is when you are using the computing resource to flood the network. In a way, it can be viewed as blocking the network path of your internet traffic with more load that it can handle. When your router is getting too many pin requests, in a technical term, all these are called handshakes. The router will stop functioning and no traffic will be flowing in and out of the network path. Without any package passing through the network path, no data can be transmitted, and now the company is blocked off from the internet world. While distributed denial of service serves a heavier purpose by gathering and commanding more resources from more affected computers, which we call them zombie or botnet. These zombies or botnets are affected and infected globally and are all waiting for the command from the host. When the host orders them to attack a particular machine, they will all pin to the particular machine, making the router or the machine unable to handle so many requests at the same time and drop all services. Now, let's explore about man-in-the-middle attacks. In these attacks, the communication path between the requester and the systems is intercepted by the attacker. The message which is supposed to be sent from point A to point B is already taken by the attacker in the middle of the point of A and B. With the taken message, what will be the next step? The attacker will now sabotage the communications by replacing the file, corrupt the data, or insert malware into the file. When the receiver opens the file, the malware will be triggered and run. In a man-in-the-middle attack, the attackers will also steal login credentials, personal information, and spy on the victim. Brute force attacks occurs when attackers will try all ways to calculate every possible combination that can make up the password. Then they will test against the login credentials and hoping it will be a correct password. If not, you'll keep trying the different combinations. And now people are using systems to automate such a process, like using dictionary words or letting the system try to guess the key created by key deviations functions to an encrypted password or into a secret value. To counter this will be to use complex password. I'll be sharing some hints and some tips on how to handle such an attacks in the later session. Lastly, will be an attack called the rainbow table. Rainbow tables allow passwords to be cracked in a very short amount of time, as compared to the brute force attack we learned a few seconds back. But the disadvantage of the rainbow table is that it will take a lot of storage. Rainbow table is a pre-computed tables or database which is used to crack the password that contain a hash. Hash, in a simple term, can be termed as encryption. How they crack the hash of the encrypted message is simply using the rainbow table, which will have the plain text password and their corresponding hash values to derive the hash value of the plain text password. When you come on board to my module, you'll be learning a lot about this. The next attack we'll be learning will be malware attacks. A common name to many, and when you do a Google search, you'll be able to find a lot of applications on site that says anti-malware or anti-adware. But what exactly is malware? When you want to discover more about malware, there'll be two portions you'll need to learn about malware. First will be propagation mechanism, which is the way that malware object spreads into the systems. We call this the propagation mechanism. And the next will be the payload. When we talk about the payload, we are talking about the malicious action which the malware performs. Remember, these two items, when we talk about malware, how it spreads into systems, and the actions, how it performs, will be the key to malware learning. We will now take a closer look at the propagation mechanisms for malware. Under such an attack, when we talk about viruses, all this will be triggered by human actions. When the virus's malware is installed into the systems, and when the user clicks on it, the virus will start to spread itself into the systems, like any applications. This is the most common method in which viruses spread and affect a computer systems. A worm, on the other hand, will be a malware in which they will spread by themselves. The user does not need to trigger or act on it, but it will spread silently into your computer systems. And most of the times, worms will just sit in the systems until the triggering events happen, or until when the logic and the rules and conditions are met. It's like the child is sitting in your systems but will not act on it until the parents call it. Most of the time, they are silently collecting data in your systems and will send all these collected data out when there's an event or when their parents call for it. Trojan horse are a bit tricky kind of malware, as they will pose themselves as a very helpful or system that will benefit the environment. The common one will be acting like a video editor or some other programs that help you to clean up certain malware in your systems. And when you click and install it, all these will be Trojan horses behind. I've done up a simple table to summarize and to give us a better understanding of the three types of malware explained earlier on. Various malware can be downloaded by activities such as email attachment, bad websites, or even QR codes. Viruses will be triggered once the user clicks on the virus file. The worm will come into the operating system and try to find all the weak points, and they'll start to spread themselves into your systems. And lastly, Trojan horse will disguise themselves through the software, downloads files, and infects documents and your systems. Once they are in the systems, they'll move by themselves without the user help. All these are very scary kind of malwares. Once we have learned how it spreads into the system, now let us learn the payload mechanism, which are the actions you'll perform on the systems. An adware will disturb your system or slow down your productivity by popping out advertisements or running advertisements in your background. This is the most irritating things to the user, as you will have to keep closing these advertisements. Have you ever encountered a situation where advertisements keep popping up and they cover the document you want to access? And you have to keep clicking on the X button to close those advertisements. This is the work of the adware. Then will be the spyware. Just by reading from the name, you'll be able to tell that it is some application that is gathering information on the background. This is a very dangerous actions, as they are used to track and record activities on computers and mobile devices. A famous form of spyware will be a keylogger. A keylogger records everything you type in the infected systems. This includes usernames and password. It will be the best to have anti-spyware installed in your system to remove or to prevent such a malware. The most serious damage caused will be ransomware. Ransomware is a type of malware that will encrypt your system, or I would say lock your system up with their password. To have their password or to decrypt the affected files, you have to pay for it. In such a case, payment is done in Bitcoin. Bitcoin payment is the smartest and the best payment, as they do not leave any record. In normal case, there's no way to decrypt your file unless you pay for it. The tricky part is that even after you make the payment, they can still either do not send you the password or ask for a higher ransom. With a quick view of the three common types of malware, Now, let us learn more in detail on this malware. Firstly, will be the Adware mechanism. Some of these adware will change your default search engine to make it do their platform, and therefore making popping our advertisements a lot easier. Besides popping out advertisements, they have a tendency to replace legitimate advertisements with their own advertisements. So when you click on the replace advertisement, more other advertisements will keep popping up. Following next will be spyware techniques. We learned about keyloggers in the previous 2 slides, where the keylogger is used to monitor keystrokes. These keystrokes will help them to derive the target username and password. When I talk about target, it's the victim here. Spyware is a secret agent that sneaks into your systems and try to monitor your web browser behavior, like the website you went into and how you can use the website to gain access to your information. Spyware can also keep searching for a hard disk drive and other storage devices to get the information they want. So we have come to the last one, and which is the scariest of all. As I mentioned before, the ransomware. The normal path for ransomware will be by email, and the user will be scammed into clicking on the link. Or they are bluffed in a certain way and forces user to click on the link. Once the target user or victims click on it, the ransomware will start to run and encrypts all the files, or they have selected a very sensitive file for encryptions. Once these files are encrypted, they will follow up with demands to ransom on a very short notice. And remember, ransom for this case will always be paid in Bitcoin. And take note, even if you pay their Bitcoin the first time, they might ask for a higher amount and might not give you the password to the encrypted file. Moving on to the next source of cyber attack will be social engineering. What will be the keyword that will come to your mind when you talk about social engineering? Let me give you more time to think about the word while I share more on social engineering. Social engineering is a tactics that's used to control the human mind, to bring the human or the victims to perform actions or divert their confidential information out to the attacker. And with the divert information, the attacker can now work and design out an attack plan to exploit or form out a strategy to attack the systems. So, are you able to tell the linking words behind social engineering? The word will be scam. A lot of social engineering happen through email scams and phone call scams. Later in our sharing, I'll share some examples and samples of such an email scams. Nowadays, social engineering can happen in person as well. The hacker is out to meet the target and victims, and they will no longer be sitting behind the computer screen anymore. They can be like a surveyor and collect information like our email or mobile phone. Then from there, they can perform their phone scam or email scam. The final source of cyber attack we'll be sharing will be data theft. The objective of data theft is definitely to get the desired data and the password of the system they are targeting. And the source they are targeting through will always be on a weak and default password. For this part, let's hold on first. I'll be sharing some of the countermeasures and ways to gear ourselves up for a better protection. The next most prominent attack source for data theft will be removable media. This media can be a hard disk or your pen drive. There are a lot of cases where hackers handed out free pen drive with malicious programs installed in it to their victims during networking events. So when these victims insert the pen drive into their systems, the hacker will be able to gain access to the systems. So always exercise extra caution when dealing with this media. Concern area number 1. weak and default passwords. Password has always been one of the simplest security methods around the world. Having a weak password that anyone can easily guess or broken in is the most dangerous of all. Most of the time, it's made up of personal information like your birthday, mobile number, or your loved one's birthday. So, such password is considered to have poorly chosen words, or they just lack the complexity in it. When I sum up the first point, a weak password makes guessing easily. But the presence of a default password is another dangerous level. Such default password is present in your equipment, like a home router. They came set up with their default password, but the default password will be the same across the entire product range. And it presents the major security flaws in most companies. As such default password, anyone can easily get into it. Such example will be having admin as your username and password. The type of password attacks we've already shared earlier on in our previous lesson, but we'll go through them one more time. Brute force attacks are like trying all ways and combinations to match and reach the desired password of the victim. Dictionary attacks let the system try to guess the key created by key deviation functions, while a keylogger attacks is installed as a tool to record down all the keystrokes applied to the victim itself. And lastly, all these are the top 10 passwords in the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, password as password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and even 9. 111, sunshine, I love you. All these are examples of weak passwords. Before we learn about the countermeasures for weak and default password, let's have a quick indicator of what is a weak and default passwords. Words found in the dictionary can easily crack using a dictionary attack. So, this is not a safe way to do it. Significant information will be like your birthday or your mobile number. Through social engineering, hackers, by spending some time online on your social media postings, can easily guess these passwords and will try to access to your account. Lack of character diversity. How about getting your password and setting it as password? I think this portion doesn't need much explanation. What are the effects of using weak and default passwords? Hackers will be able to exploit the target person's habits, and normally the person will be using the same password across sites and systems. This will make the victim, or I'll say the target person, an easy target. They make the life of a hacker very easy as well. A default password will allow hackers to easily crack passwords to the sites, and the ultimate objective is to gain access to the company information. The goal of the hacker is always to get the data they want, and I will say your data will be their ultimate goal. So, what are the ways to make a password more secure and make you feel safer? Having a complete password will be a must. Combine the password string with letters, numbers, and also special characters. The more combination, the merrier, as hacker will require a longer time to crack and they will need more ways to gain access to the password. What you are protecting is your data. Won't you want to save them? So, do not use personal information to protect something. This is a serious matter, and this is not an autograph. There's a saying goes, you can't get something that you can't defend. To counter dictionary attacks, do not use common phrases or words, especially words in trend. Words in factions will be captured by hackers in their dictionary list. Password is important to you, so you must keep it close to you. Do not write them down on a piece of paper or any form. Memorize it if you are able to. Understand that in some companies, there are a lot of systems require all different passwords, but try to keep it safe from anyone to gain access to it. If you are using the same password for your company devices and personal devices, remember to change them regularly. Changing them every quarter is a good guideline. Clipping level is how much times you are allowed to enter the wrong password before the system locks you out, and you require security questions or other authentication methods to log in again. Keeping the clipping level low will mean brute force attack will be stopped. In many companies, the clipping level will be kept to maximum of 3 attempts. Don't use the lazy man methods, saving your password or login credential into your browser. This is never a safe way, and it's the biggest mistake. The next cybersecurity threats we will be looking at will be removable media. This can be considered as any storage devices that's connected to the system. They are storage devices, so they can store files or malware, which can be triggered based on conditions or logic. And they're the best way to get access to your systems, as they're considered as direct access. So it's just like plugging and unplugging your RJ45 to your router. Examples of this media will be pen drives, flash drives, CD, and DVDs. All these are a little old school, but there are still people using this old school technology. And lastly will be your external hard drive and SSD. Now we'll look at some indications to all this. As we shared earlier on, hackers can leave all this media, such as pen drive, at location for personnel to pick up. This is like leaving it at an obvious place where you will pass by and be greedy enough to pick it up and insert the media to your company network. They can also send all these pen drive to your personal accounts under gesture or as a price, or sometimes as a free product testings. Since all these are free items, a lot of victims will use them. And we'll go through the effects under these attacks. They have the ability to corrupt files and destroy or modify information in the systems, because they are now in your systems and they have the administrative rights. And they have the ability to access and sabotage the systems. They can encrypt the systems and ask for ransom if they want to. Now, we'll go through some of the countermeasures for this removable media. Just in case you're allowed to bring your company laptop home, a quick rule of thumb: never use any personal owned media on your company laptop unless it's approved by your company. Ensure that you do not use all this media unless it's deemed as important and does not encrypt any data in the media. For the access right and who can get the password, follow the company policy. When you are dealing with government projects, the control of all these media is especially important. Now, we will be coming to a more interesting topic, which is phishing email. Why I say this is interesting because I've encountered them on a daily basis. Phishing is considered a high-tech scam that uses email to deceive the victim into disclosing personal information. The ultimate aim is to cheat the victim to expose their personal information and their company information. Phishing email is used to target anyone, but there are two kinds of different levels of phishing emails. Spear phishing is a type of targeted phishing that appears to be directed to a specific individual or a group of individuals. For example, department, HR department or finance department. Whale phishing. It's a specific type of phishing attacks that only target high-profile employees. Normally, it's a C-level of the company. Let's move on to some indications of phishing email. Firstly, they may contain bad grammars, misspellings, and is very general in a form, like addressing to hi only. They may also attach or include malicious crafted attachments or links to malicious website. The most common one will be asking you to update or verify information or click on the link. So far, you can see all the actions are to get you to click on the link or to click on the executable file. They can also appear to be an employer from a bank or from a credit card company. They can also be an online payment provider or even government agency. They will make it sound like they are from a position of authority or from a legitimate company and make you to believe and trust them. Phishing emails can sound very demanding or come with a dead serious consequences. For example, you'll be sacked if you do not give the information, or they are from the direct orders from your CEO. There are times whereby phishing emails will also promise a reward when you click on the link. For example, you have won the top prize and it needs to be claimed immediately. Please click on the link. The countermeasures for phishing emails will be to delete away any suspicious email. And always look for digital signature that is from a trusted source. Any untrusted source needs to be deleted away immediately. And always ensure your computer system antivirus or anti-malware software are up to the latest patch. Never open up any suspicious email. Don't ever click on any link in a suspicious email or from any attachment in a suspicious email. Please also never call on the telephone number provided in the email if they are deemed suspicious. The best will be to Google for the right number if there's a need to call and verify. Lastly, do not disclose any information to anyone in the internet. Now, let me show you a few examples of a phishing email. This is a first example of a phishing email that claimed to be from PayPal. And this is one of the worst phishing emails that I've ever seen. I don't think anyone will click on this. If you have opened up such an email before in the past and click on the link, do not worry, because after today, you understand that this is a phishing email and learn the reason why, and you'll be cybersecurity aware. There's 3 key highlights to show that this is a phishing email. Firstly, look at the list of people this guy sent to. There is a lot of people in the email. And the email domain is not from PayPal. And lastly, you can see there's a link to click on it, triggering that this is a phishing email. This is another simple example of a phishing email. As you can see, it's only to the victim, a person, but there's no subject, and there's a link to click on it. The link is searchyahoo.com, and I'm not sure why is that. Anyway, I'm not going to click on that, and I'm sure you will not be clicking on that as well. The next cyber threat that I'll be sharing will be malicious code. Malicious code can be defined as software that does damage or created unwanted behaviors in the system. It includes all the malware attacks I shared earlier on. And this malicious code includes viruses, Trojan horse, worms, keyloggers, and spyware. I'm sure you are now very familiar with some of these terms. The following are suspicious indications related to malicious code. Malicious code can be distributed via email attachments. These attachments will have files that can be executed for them to run a series of actions. Downloading all this from a bad website. Visiting an infected website. Or direct connecting using your portable devices or your LAN cable. Malicious code may result in a few effects. They can corrupt files or destroy or modify information in your system. This is a serious impact, as they have the ability to change your administrator password. With the modifications of system logs, you will not be able to tell or trace the hacker that was in your system. Malicious code can also compromise the systems. As malicious files do come with numerous logic bombs, and some might only target a particular file. And once these logics are met, you allow the hackers to access or sabotage the systems. The countermeasures for malicious code will be more technical. It is mostly about scanning using your system tools, or you need to purchase other tools for scanning. The first countermeasures for malicious code will be to scan all your attachments. Even if you have tools to scan, you must also exercise caution when opening up any email attachment. The caution portion always includes deleting or reporting emails from senders you do not know. Do not take any chance to be the victims of malicious attacks. If you can view the email message in plain text, that will be the best. Because when documents are in plain text format, no files can run in the background. And do always turn off automated downloading to prevent unknown downloads in the background. As for the website, do ensure your operating systems and all software are of the latest patch. Patching will prevent all the vulnerabilities from happening in your system. If you are more technical, you can blacklist malicious links or IP addresses. Such malicious links can be found online. And for family office, block all unnecessary ports at the firewall level and host level, and also disable unused protocols and services in the system. The next common attack we will be going through will be unpatched or updated software vulnerabilities. Unpatched or updated software provide vulnerabilities and opportunities for hackers to access information in your systems. The most common sentence which I always like to say is like closing a door without any lock. You welcome attackers without much effect. They are already in your system. Now we'll be going through the list of indicators related to unpatched and updated software. Have you ever experienced when you're accessing your system halfway through, you are prompted to relog in? This is because there's an unauthorized system access attempt. There are times when you are also suddenly prompted to provide information. These can be unauthorized system access or disclose of information or unauthorized data storage or transmission that happen. It can also be unauthorized hardware or software modifications that happen in your systems. The effect of unpatched or updated software vulnerabilities will include corrupt files or destroy or modify information. Also, there might be a chance of loss of information as hard drives are erased or hacker access and sabotage the systems. The following countermeasures can be taken to guard against software vulnerabilities. Always stay current with patches and updates. A weekly update is advisable. Always be on alert and stay vigilant. Human protection is the last line of defense. Do not rely solely on your system for all protections. There are ways to bypass all these systems and all this technology. The final measures will be to disconnect the computer systems in the event of any serious attack. So, who are the defenders in the cyberspace? Let us take a look at the overall defense parties for the whole cybersecurity posture. For us to better understand all the parties of defenders, we'll include those on the corporate sides of the cyber game as well. Firstly, we have the company cybersecurity team. They are the unsung heroes, working behind the scene, and normally they're the one to take the blame when things fail. The sad part of the scope for these unsung heroes will be that no credit goes to them when the systems are up and running. Imagine you are doing your job well for the whole year, but when it comes to year-end appraisal or promotion, and someone during that time in your company accidentally click on a phishing email and invites a ransomware attack, your promotions and bonuses will be gone as well. Human is the weakest link, and making sure they receive the sufficient and updated knowledge will be the job of the cyber team as well. Supporting the company's cybersecurity team will always be the outsourced security vendors. Very often, they'll be looked upon as the outsourced hands and legs of the company, and they have a very close relationship. Many times, they are holding on to the administrator's access to the systems. So managing and selecting the outsourced vendors carefully is a key for this team as well. Then will be governments that invest in growing talents and professionals to support the market. The government also come up with certain policy and guidelines which the companies need to follow. They will also implement laws and regulations to tie up certain loopholes and understanding in the market. The biggest impact government can give will be to provide grants and subsidies to the companies when they purchase cybersecurity products. This will drive and impact the economy as a whole. Service providers are important as the defenders as well. They are the ones who provide large internet pipes to protect the companies from DDoS attacks. And the most important will be the user. It is reported that 95% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. I keep stressing that humans is the weakest link, and very often this is a group which people always miss them out. And most companies took over 6 months to notice a data breach in the systems. This can be due to the lack of cybersecurity professionals or no budget to implement monitoring tools. Now, we'll be going through tips for individual. For password-wise, the best suggestions will be to use complex combinations, and the password is personal, so do not share with anyone else. For work-related password, do not even share with your family members. The best practice will be to change your password regularly, and try not to store your password under computer cookies. When it comes to email, never and do not open email attachment from any unfamiliar sources. And always question yourself and others about the source even if it looks official. Phishing emails, SMS scams, and WhatsApp scams are on the rise. Protecting yourselves and the company, you got the part to play. Coming to the software portion, never install personal software into your company network or hardware, unless your company policy allows such installations. And if there's a need to install, always obtain permission from your company IT department. IT departments need to take note of this software as they need to get it patched in their system as well. Finally, on the hardware, do not connect personal hardware to your company network or laptop. Always obtain permission from your company IT department. Any pen drive that comes from unknown source need to be cautioned as well. Always and never insert or try to read the content on this unknown pen drive using your company or your personal computer. You do not know if the content inside contains any malicious malware at all. Report all suspicious or unusual problems with your computer to your IT department. When it comes to tips for management and IT departments, it will be on a high-level view, and we will need to break them down into strategy, technical, and operation levels for our easy understanding. Under the strategy position, it's always top management responsibility to implement defense in depth, a layered defense strategy. This is a high-level strategy that shows the different protection which need to be in place at the different network structure. When we talk about technical strategy, it will be to implement technical defense. All these will be technology tools, including intrusion detection systems and internet content filtering. All the different components need to talk to each other. And finally, operation will be key. There are a few things to ensure. There's a need to check for all software updates daily and review them. Always maintain a regular updates from vendors on their security patches and ensure the manufacturer's default password are changed and not shared. And also monitor logs and analyze successful and attempted intrusions into your systems and networks. So now, let's take a look at what should I report as an end user, or what are the things that I feel that will trigger for me to escalate and alert my IT team. The most obvious will be the sudden slowness of your laptop or system. This might be a sign that the system is failing, but it can also mean that someone is disturbing or disrupting your systems. And a sudden change of the internet browser will be a fearful thing to note as well. The next thing to note will be to stop the path of social engineering. This is to ensure that the user will be very careful and not entertain any suspicious questioning from suspicious email or phone call. Now, the common one will be WhatsApp scam. When you realize that suddenly there's unauthorized access or change made to account, like your password or your photo, all these are signs that man-in-the-middle attack already happened or your account is already being smoothed. Do report to your IT team immediately. Keep your accounts and password closest to you and as dear as anything else. You can only prevent unauthorized access to your system if no one else is using your account, even your supervisor. We have come to the end of our cybersecurity awareness sharing. And I thank you for your commitment and time to sit through this 1 hour with me. I'm also excited to see cybersecurity professionals coming together to learn something new, or recalling past cybersecurity knowledge to enhance their understanding. Do remember, the human is the weakest link in the game of cybersecurity. Therefore, it's your job and responsibility to ensure you are aware of the cyber attacks and the latest news in your environment. Meanwhile, please continue to send me your feedback on the kind of information you would like me to share, and I'll think about how to get it done for you. Let's keep the passion for learning cybersecurity strong. Do remember to subscribe, like, and share. Spread the words around. I'll see you soon for more learning together.